I enjoyed Mortal. I only watched it yesterday, but it was just good fun. And I think Nat's he's got a real darkness to him, hasn't he? I think he's a good actor.
Yeah, no, and I was surprised also in a way by his ability to go dark, because he's done a lot of lighter movies where I wasn't expecting, initially when I met him, wasn't expecting that to be such part of his presence. So.
Yeah. Well, I'll just sort of get started because I know I've only got about 15 minutes with you today. So
Yeah.
My first question was just about what was the kind of idea behind telling this story? What was it about this particular tale and this kind of mythology that made you think, right, that's going to be my next movie?
I mean, I wanted to do a movie about Norwegian mythology that was done in a different way, a grounded way, that is something we can tell here in Norway that relates to the Norwegian sensibility, that isn't a spectacular, big, you destroying New York kind of movie. Because we can't, first of all, we can't afford that on a Norwegian budget. So there's no point in even competing. But to express something different, and I wanted to do a different Northern mythology movie than what I'd seen. And I wanted the movie to be very intimate and be about two people in a very dire circumstance and how they, in a way, survive that.
So was there almost a sense of like reclaiming this story in a sense? Because obviously, it's you look at like sort of what Marvel are doing and stuff like that. Was in some regards, was there a sense of thinking this is a Norwegian tale and it'd be quite nice for us to tell it our way?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely, it was. I wanted it to be very underground and low key and close to nature, which it's all about nature. It's all about a person who can actually control the atmosphere and weather and all kinds of stuff like that. So I wanted the movie to be very grounded in every way, and also it's an opportunity to tell a huge tale in a very small community, very local community, and I found that to be also an intriguing juxtaposition.
I was wondering too about, well, we obviously spoke briefly about Nat at the start, but just tell about the casting of him, because obviously this film revolves around that central character. I just wondered about the casting process and what it was about him that made you think, right, I've found my leading man.
No, I mean, I had a great conversation with him over Skype, where after looking and interviewing several young actors in his category, and he was one of our top priorities, and he gravitated towards the character, and we had just a great conversation where he clearly understood what this character was going through. And it was such a wonderful experience working with him on set, where he's such an instinctual and natural actor who's so present here and now, and he's constantly adjusting his character as he goes in a very intriguing way. As an actor, it was a fascinating experience.
Are you one of those filmmakers that always quite likes the actor to have a lot of control over their character, and let them do, like you said, be on set and to do things in the moment and to be spontaneous? Because I know some filmmakers are very kind of like, has to be exactly by the book or exactly how the screenplay dictates. But are you someone that allows space for freedom?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there is certain things that I need to tell the story. I need to have to tell the story, because that's my main responsibility, is to be the storyteller. And then obviously acting is one of the key elements of that. And so as long as it's within certain parameters, I love to see that the actor can even improvise dialogue or improvise moments and change things. I do usually find that blocking of the actor, the movement, physical movement of acting, is something we need to figure out in advance, because it's so complex that it affects the camera and everything. But beyond that, I love that actors give something surprising. It's the most wonderful thing in the world to see an actor just nail the moment in something, and something that is unexpected. It's one of the most rewarding things for a filmmaker.
Yeah, because I was wondering too, though, about creating an atmosphere for them to do that, in the sense that I came on set of The Autopsy of Jane Doe. I didn't actually get the chance to speak to you that day because directors are always the busiest person on set. I was taken aback by the meticulous attention to detail. I was in Brian Cox's character's office, and there was like pictures on the wall and like certificates that were all like handwritten and stuff, and it felt like even if the camera didn't pick it up, it was still there for the actors. How important is that for you to, even sometimes if the audience don't see it, to just create this environment for actors to really enrich the story with enrich it with authenticity?
No, I think it's crucial, and for the actors to have a world around them that inspires them to be present as much as possible in the situation. And Matt Gant, who did the autopsy of Jane Doe, he did an amazing job as well with creating that environment. And I think he thinks the same way. As goes for Kalle Julius on Mortal, which is they're extremely meticulous people as well. So my job is to find these people who think that way as well. Because ultimately it's the production designer and his crew that really makes this come alive.
Yeah. Because, and I was wondering too about obviously Nat being American, and it just regards to that character being American, what was the thinking behind that? Do you think it was helping to enforce the idea of an outsider in a kind of foreign land? Was that, because I mean, I love the fact that that first scene when that incident happens with that guy, when the first thing he says is, "Oh, you're speaking English," and it's an instant kind of thing that separates him, isn't it, from the locals? Was that the idea behind casting an American in this role?
Yeah, I love the idea of rediscovering something and him coming back to Norway to rediscover his roots. And eventually that just felt like a natural starting position to reveal this enormous mythology that he is part of. So yeah, I really like the idea of bringing somebody from the outside into a set world and a set situation. It wreaks some havoc on the, yeah.
And how was it sort of balancing all the themes in this? Because obviously you've got the kind of mythology and the kind of quite fantastical big moments, but then at the same time it is grounded by not just a character study, but there is a romantic kind of subplot to this as well. Just wondering about balancing all of those themes, and if that was a lot of that was done in the kind of editing room for you, and just getting the tone right and ensuring that you had the kind of big fantastical moments and the smaller character driven moments, and how you kind of blended it all together.
I mean, of course, I think that a movie is created in 3 basic sections. And of course, it's the script, it's the actual shooting with the actors, and then it's the editing. And everything ideally should be part of honing one vision in a way. And the starting point is always a script where it balances out. You have to keep that balance in mind as you're developing the script. And then trying to get that across in a physical space with the actors and the environment they're in. And then, yes, try to protect it and finesse it in the editing to make sure that it actually comes through. So it does become part of every part of the process, which makes it, in this case, makes it crucial that you do need one voice to be part of all those processes, which is obviously the director's job.
Because I mean, it's hard to sort of know with these things, but it feels like there could be sort of franchise potential in this story. I mean, there's no reason when the film ends, you feel like this could be a world, this could be a character we delve back into. Is that something that played into your mind when making this, thinking about potential sequels further down the line, or do you not concern yourself with stuff like that in the moment?
I mean, normally I don't, but this was this was a setup. You know, this whole movie is meant as a beginning, and it was the plan, because it ends really abruptly, and it ends with huge twists to the character, and it makes me excited to think about what's the next movie, what's the next story, because it's going to be completely different than the first movie. So.
Yeah. So is that going ahead? Are you guys going to be working on a second one?
I'd love to. Right now I'm busy with a couple other movies, so it's not the right immediate thing, but I would love to make a sequel to it. Yeah.
Because you're doing, is it right? I mean, this is obviously Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark too. I was just wondering, because obviously I loved that first one as well. What can sort of fans expect of the sequel? Have you guys started, what stage of that movie are you guys at the moment?
We're working on the story and basically building everything up. And I think we'll start getting into the script very soon and should be ready in a reasonable amount of time. And no, I mean, I think it's an expansion and on the mythology of the first film. And no, I'm very excited about it. It's tricky to know what to say publicly about it at this stage, but I'm very excited about where it's going. So that's.
And obviously, as a filmmaker, I mean, obviously, when Troll Hunter came out, it sort of blew me away, that movie. But I was wondering about all of your films. They do seem to explore the kind of darker sides of our psyche in some regards. And even though they are sort of entrenched in humanity, a lot of them do have darker elements running through them. Is that just what you're attracted to as a storyteller? Do you just quite like telling films that have dark sides to it, or can you see a kind of comedy in you one day?
Yeah, no, I mean, I consider Troll Hunter as a comedy, though. I mean, I always saw that. Yeah, but it's no, it's true. There is something about balancing the gray zones, the darkness and the lightness in humanity and in society, for that matter. Whether it's governmental secrets in Troll Hunter, or it's the dark problems of Eric in Mortal. It's definitely something I'm intrigued by. I think I need it. I think I need that balance to tell the story. Yeah.
And I mean, Troll Hunter, I remember when it sort of came out, it was just such a huge success over here in the UK. I think everyone was sort of talking about it. I'm just wondering if you anticipated that sort of reaction. Obviously, it's a film you would have put all of your love and heart and blood and tears into it, and then I'm sure you're incredibly proud of it. But were you still surprised by how it was taken kind of worldwide? Because I guess for filmmakers, it's so hard to think that far ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I was terrified. We had a first public screening of the movie ever in Texas at Fantastic Fest. And to show a local movie that is so entrenched in Norwegian mythology in Texas, which has a very different, general worldview, it was amazing to see how it's still connected with an audience, regardless of cultural, differences. And no, I mean, I was hoping for it to happen. I geared it in a way I created with a broad appeal in mind, but you never know. I mean, the success of the movie, I could never, ever imagine. It was crazy when they started contacting me from Hollywood, like before the movie was even out. So, yeah.
Yeah. Because we're wondering too about, obviously we're still in lockdown in the UK. Well, for many of us, I haven't really gone back to work normally, as you can tell from the fact I'm interviewing you obviously on Zoom. I'm just wondering how lockdown's been for you, as a filmmaker. Have you found it a time to really be creative and to write, or in some ways, because your job requires so much traveling, have you used it as a chance just to take some time off and relax? Because I know everyone's got a kind of different approach at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the opportunity to stay with my family for these 6 months so far in a way that I really appreciated, rather than run around. I was supposed to go and shoot another movie this spring, but obviously Corona killed that for now. Hopefully we'll gear it back up as soon as we can. But no, I mean, I've been creatively trying to write, which is, what you can do in this situation. And I'm working on several films daily, with communication with various producers and screenwriters, and so I'm keeping very busy, but prepping for the future essentially. Yeah.
So my final question, because I realize I'm just coming up to the end of my time, but it was just sort of, you mentioned you've got a kind of few irons in the fire, but is there one what's next? Have you got one that you are kind of able to talk about that's kind of quite further down the line?
I mean, the movie I was supposed to make this spring, and I'm hoping we can get back into as soon as possible, is The Long Walk, based on a novel by Stephen King, which I have with Brad Fisher and New Line and Warner Brothers, which is a huge film for me. It's a unique story that I think nobody's ever seen anything like it. So I'm really excited about that. But right now, obviously, America isn't in a good place. So.
Oh God, I hope that happens though. I'm just a sucker for any Stephen King movie adaptation, to be honest. Yeah. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, André. It's been a real pleasure speaking to you this morning.
Yeah, you too.
And best of luck with the release, and fingers crossed for all these future projects you've got coming up.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey